Hey everybody, it's PDN Live tonight. I'm your moderator for this week because Shannon's unavailable. My name is Sam, and with us as always is the wonderful Rob Pincus. Hi Rob.
Hey, how we doing?
Rob, have you been up to anything interesting lately?
Yeah, so we're doing the live broadcast through our normal Google tonight. We've also got a Facebook audience, so we're gonna kind of split attention a little bit. And what we're going to talk about tonight, I know, is closely related, probably even without seeing the questions. I mean, like Karnak, probably really closely related to what I've been doing for the last 2 days. And the last 2 days I've been doing instructor development. So a lot of people know that Personal Defense Network and IC Training and I have aligned with the USCCA, and we're developing the next level instructor development program with them. It's really based on our defensive firearms coaching course, which is powered by the Combat Focused Shooting Program and all of our intuitive defensive shooting stuff that we put out through our instructors. Well, there's people taking a written test in the room. I'm at Bristlecone Shooting Range here in Colorado near my Western headquarters. There's people taking a written test right now, being proctored by Mandy Autry, one of our instructors from California. We have instructors from here at Bristlecone. We have instructor candidates for us from Nebraska, from Arkansas, and a couple other places around Colorado. So we have several states here. These people have been working pretty hard over the last 2 days, and they did a lot of prerequisite work. They did a lot of distance education through Personal Defense Network Academy. They did the counter ambush courses, the selecting a defensive handgun course, and the defensive shooting course. They went through all those online courses as prerequisites, as well as did some other coursework to get ready for this. And they did really well on their teachbacks today. And there's 8 people that I think are on their way to offering intuitive defensive shooting under our banner. And that'll be the collaboration with the USCCA that's started back in May that more and more people are going to see towards the end of the year. So it's been a pretty busy last couple of days. We did some video work Monday and Tuesday for Personal Defense Network. There'll be a lot of new content coming out to Facebook, to obviously the website, all of our emails, things like that. Some of the stuff for premium members only. One thing specifically for our gold members, and then a lot of great new content for all of our visitors and our registrants, people that are registered for that free newsletter. The best way to see all that stuff when it gets posted, especially the featured stuff, and know what I'm highlighting, what we're highlighting at PDN, of course, is to sign up for that free newsletter. So go to personaldefensenetwork.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get alerts every time we post something new and cool, updates about some of the training opportunities, and especially the new distance education online classes.
And here, I was going to do the newsletter plug, but you went and took my job right from me.
Well, I was like, Shannon's not here, I better do it.
I tell Shannon to do it. Normally I'm behind the scenes, you guys. Speaking of how busy Rob is, we are going to be cutting things a little shorter than usual tonight. We're going to shoot for 30 minutes instead of the normal hour. I promise to pressure Rob into answering the questions that we don't answer on the air online at some point. He'll type it in.
Not that question about, like, not that weird political question. No, I'm not even answering that.
That one didn't come in on the website, so you'll be fine. So why don't we just dive in while we've gotten questions coming in already. I'll just start with the first one here. Michael asks, what are your thoughts about when or if national reciprocity will become law? If you have thoughts.
Okay, so my thoughts are, I don't know when it's going to become law. I actually think that in a lot of ways, the push for national reciprocity is a kind of a minefield, because it's almost inevitable that some of the compromises that will be made in order to get national reciprocity won't be amenable to a lot of the people. There'll be, restrictions on training issues. There'll be, a lot of people now are worried that that you'll be required to have like concealed carry type insurance. There's all kinds of things I've heard like out there in the rumor mill, and I really don't know of any resolution or any plan to get national reciprocity without some kind of caveat to the more restrictive states that states like Texas or Arizona or whoever aren't going to want. So I think the best case scenario would be that people have the option of reciprocity under a federal law if they meet the criteria. But what I wouldn't want to see is that there's okay, we'll give you national reciprocity, but now there's a national standard. Everybody has to meet this standard, even if you don't care about having reciprocity with other states. I think that's the best of both worlds. What that's going to give us is, okay, I get it. Like, I'm going to have insurance, or I'm going to have met this qualification score. I'm going to have gone through this specific nationally, federally approved course in order to have the national card. Meanwhile, if you don't want that, if you don't want to jump through those hoops, you can have your normal state permit in your state. You can have your constitutional carry in your state if it's constitutional carry where you don't need a permit. And we would still have our network of reciprocity between states that has nothing to do with the federal reciprocity at all. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing, is that's probably the best thing. What we don't want, I don't think anybody in the community should want, is that you only have the option of a national concealed carry permit. I don't think that's the path we should be going down. And I travel more than any of you. So
you travel more than anyone I've ever met in my life. So, but okay, I'm just gonna throw these questions at you rapid fire since we're, have a shorter amount of time. So the next one I've got here is, I see, Ron asked, I see too many instructors training individuals for 7 to 10 yards. I've seen more violence start at 6 feet or less. Should we be training at that distance?
So statistically, right, if we're gonna talk about statistics, which is always dangerous, all I can tell you is that the data that I trust the most, that I think is the most like pure set of accurate data for personal defense shootings in one collection that's been organized, comes from Tom Gibbons, from his connections in the Memphis area and his long years of being, really not quite a sole source provider, but the leading guy in his organization, all his instructors and his range being the leading people for concealed carry. He's got a lot of people that have run through his program because of the way the laws in Tennessee work, and the fact that he was there and very well established connections with law enforcement. He has a great data set for actual personal defense shootings as opposed to law enforcement shootings or some of the other things, so that we might get data from. His data says that over 85, it's like 86 point something percent, the last time I checked, of the defensive shootings occurred between 9 and 15 feet. Less than 5% happened in closer than that. Less than 5% happened between, or just around 5% happened between 16 feet and 21 feet, getting back to the 7 yards that were in the question. Yeah. And less than 5% of the things happened beyond 21 feet. So the data says 9 to 15 feet. Overwhelmingly is where you should be training. So for example, in this program we're running now, we start people out at 10 to 12 feet. We try to get them back to 12 to 15 feet so that they're training most of the time at the distance that is the back end of 80+% of the shootings in that data set. Now there's other data sets out there that I don't necessarily trust as much, but they don't differ very much at all. Unless you go back to like anecdotal stuff, like 3 feet, yeah, 3 shots, 3 seconds, I don't buy that. It's just an anecdote. It sounds neat, but I've never seen the data to support it. There's this concept that lots of fights happen at contact distance. For law enforcement, that's much more true because people have to be in contact, or they obviously are trying to arrest the people potentially, right? Yeah. They're moving into the house, they're going towards the person. For personal defense, that obviously is supported by the data. Now, is it really important to train inside of 2 arms reach, what we would consider extreme close quarters? Absolutely. We do it. We started our extreme close quarters counter ambush program, extreme close quarters shooting program in, 2000, 2001 was the first time we started running that. Started open enrollment classes in 2003. Of course, ShivWorks does a good job with that as well. I think they started running their first public courses in 2004, doing it in law enforcement before that. So there's been a lot of people around doing what's become to be known as integrated training, right? The contact shooting, grappling, fighting to the gun, all that stuff. There's other guys that teach contact shooting. The fear I have is that if we say, yeah, lots more people need to be training inside of 6 feet, you're going to see craziness because there aren't a lot of guys that really do it well. And if you open it up to like every concealed carry guy saying, yeah, you need to train more inside of six feet doing contact shooting, it's a whole nother animal. We don't train contact shooting in our fundamentals class. Our fundamentals class deals with shooting beyond 2 arm reach, shooting at full extension. Yes, it's important to do training in that realm, but it's really a specialized class. It's not just a 15-minute block in a standard extended shooting defensive shooting class. And I think that's the mistake some people make is they rush to want to include it. They're not doing it well. We see a lot of it on the internet now, this thing where people are standing right up against a rubber target or whatever and pulling their gun out and shooting real fast while they back up. That's just silliness. It's not extreme close quarters. It's not contact shooting. It's not integrated training. It's just silliness. So the data doesn't support a lot of extreme close quarters training is needed.
The gentleman's name whose information you really liked, you said it was Tom Gibbons?
Yeah, well, we have a DVD.
Okay.
You know, there's all kinds of
Okay.
from him. We have the Lessons from the Street DVD that we produced with him
Oh, cool.
and he presented selection. So we have the summary. He offers the summary of the data, but he also offers the details of, I think, 10 or 12 of the incidents in his collection. He taught those seminars at a lot of different places, and I'm proud to have him as one of our PDN contributors, especially
Cool.
the nature of that information.
Oh, cool. I just thought they might want to know his name or have it for sure. Okay, so Bernie asked, "Hi, Rob. I have several pistols that are secured in the original travel cases. I'm looking for a more secure way to store my firearms. I see lots of options on the market, from biometric finger scans, cool, to keypads. What would you recommend for the home?"
Big topic of our class today, because we teach a fundamental defense class is one of the things these people are getting certified to teach. So staging your gun for defensive use is very different from storing your gun securely. You're trying to prevent unauthorized access no matter what, right? But when you stage a gun specifically for use, you want your access to that gun to be as efficient as possible. So what you're really looking for is the idea that you shouldn't be having to go through like the, 3 to the left, 72 to the right, like it's not that kind of like a combination lock and then open it. If it's push in the numbers and then turn the handle and then open it up and then open a pouch in your big stand-up safe, that's not really staging. So we limit it to 4 steps. If there's 4 steps between you're in the room with the gun and you have the gun ready to use, 4 steps is like the limit. A lot of our guys even really preach 3 steps. So in other words, RFID, biometric scan, it pops open, you grab the gun, that's it, right? So I did the scan, the safe popped open, and I grabbed the gun. Now maybe it's punch in a code with big, and if it's a little numbers, right? If it's not something like the gun vaults, where the handprint's there and you have the shape you can feel in the dark. Some of the safes have big, like an X or an O or a square, so you can feel the difference. So bigger, grosser motor skill type push buttons, biometric scan, or RFID. Now the nice thing about RFID for me, I love the Tactical Wall stuff. They were a sponsor of the tour. They ended up being a sponsor of the tour this year because I love their stuff. Right? And I use it and I rely on it. And I really like their evolution from magnets to RFID, because people say, well, Rob, you recommend no keyed locks. Absolutely true. A key, especially a cheap key that comes with most gun vault type stuff, not gun vault the brand, but gun locker type stuff, and the gun vault keys on some of the stuff, the cylinder keys are kind of fine motor skill to get them in there. The other little cheap keys are small quite often in the gun locks, and they can be easily bent. You put them in upside down, you can even jam them in there, and trying to do those kind of finer motor skills, plus having to go find a key or get the key to the safe. Plus a key looks like a key. So you can't hide the key in plain sight, so to speak. An RFID fob, you can put an RFID card, for example, inside the dust jacket of a book. You know which book has the RFID card in it. It's on the Tactical Wall shelf. Your AR, your medical kit, your flashlight are inside that shelf, hidden. You grab that book off the shelf, you lay it down on its side, the RFID card makes contact with the lock, the bottom of the shelf pops open, and now you've got your gun. So all you did was pull the book off the shelf and lay it down. Now,
that's so clever.
Like somebody's going to break into my house and take every book in my house and put it on every shelf in my house. Trying to
well, they are now that they've watched your.
Don't do that guy. People can figure it out. Maybe I don't use a book. Maybe I use a picture frame. Maybe I use a candle. I'm not really telling you the truth, but I'm giving you ideas about where you can put the RFID. So it's literally right next to the RFID thing in plain sight, but nobody's going to find it. And that's the difference between a key next to a lock that's finer motor and a very gross motor hidden in plain sight. Nobody's going to see it at this point. So 4 steps or less, gross motor skills. That's staging. That's what you're looking for.
That's fascinating. Okay, you're gonna like this question because I know you're a big proponent of the improvised self-defense. Bill asked, "How effective are tactical pens and pen lights? What's the point? Is it just a selling gimmick?" Thanks, Rob.
Yes, all that. it's kind of a gimmick, right? But there is also effectiveness there. Right now, I have a pen that I travel with. It was a gift. I did some experiential team development, some very challenging kind of team building experiences I created for Cartier over a number of years. And one of the gifts I got from them was a really nice Cartier pen, and it's very solid, and it's got a lot of strength to it. It's got
heavy, yeah.
It doesn't look like a tactical pen, but that pen, I know when I'm in an environment on a plane or something like that, when I can't carry a gun or a knife, I can take that pen and I can absolutely use it to magnify my ability to disable a bad guy, right? Focus, force, and take out an eye, maybe stab, maybe pressure point, whatever's going to happen. But I could do it with that pen as well as I could do it with any of the tactical pens, and it's not going to get questioned by TSA, and it kind of blends into more environments. So there is effectiveness there to the concept of using a flashlight or a good solid pen as an improvised defensive tool, or even in that case, a plan. It's not improvised. It's not, oh, well, let me use this pen. It's I'm carrying this with the expectation that I'll use it. So when the concept is solid, the idea that you have to buy the special tactical pen or the tactical light with the sharp edges, that's marketing, right? And I think sometimes you get yourself into more trouble. I went to a concert 2 nights ago here in Denver, and I was really surprised that they had a big sign up, no flashlights, no lasers, no flashlights. And I'm thinking, well, everybody's smartphone has a flashlight.
Your phone, yeah.
And are you really going to take away my flashlight? And their magnetometer wasn't sensitive enough to find it. It was just a very small, single AAA flashlight I had in my pocket. So no big deal, right? Like I get the no guns and all that. I don't agree with it. I understand it, but the no flashlights I thought was weird. So think about it. If someone had pulled out this little pen light that I had that could be used as a defensive tool, was like pink, versus pulling one out that was like tactical death flashlight protector. The protector's light of awesome, whatever, and it was like scalloped edges.
It looks like a miniature axe.
Yeah, like it's not a scepter from like the medieval ages, and it's 6 billion lumens. That's not getting in, right? You might not even get that on a plane, right? Depending on the mood the TSA is in. So I don't really see the point. I think that you get 2% more value, right? Other than like showing your friends at the gun range, you get 2% more value out of the tactical pen than you do a just good solid pen, and it probably doesn't write as well. And you potentially get other headaches with it. So just a good solid pen or a good solid flashlight.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Phil has an interesting question, or I think it's interesting. I train using hearing protection, but understand that gunshot noise can be very disorienting. Should I occasionally fire without protection to experience those sensations?
No, they'll do that. So you get some permanent hearing damage, right? So and that's the problem. Is I understand the premise, right? Because we talk about reality-based training, contextually appropriate training, make your training as real as it can be, that kind of thing. But there's a balance of risk and benefit whenever we talked about safety. That's what we're talking about, right? So the whole principle of safety is balancing risk against benefit. So if the benefit is I'm going to be less likely to get disoriented by this noise in the middle of a fight, well, the only way you're really going to gain that benefit theoretically would be repeated exposure over time to sort of like desensitize yourself to it. But if you're trying to desensitize yourself to something that's causing damage, you're now more likely to
damage
by gunfire in your fight because you made yourself deaf, which isn't right. Training shouldn't injure you. So I don't want you to incur actual hearing damage just so that you can maybe acclimate to shooting sounds. The reality is, first of all, research auditory exclusion, because there's a phenomenon of the dismissal. Hunters have experienced it a lot. You just fired a 308 or a 30-30 or a 270 rifle, 2 feet from your head, but you're so hyper-focused and amped up about the buck fever, like focusing on that deer, your ears aren't ringing, you're just fine. We're not necessarily counting on that, but we know it's a phenomenon that exists during fights. We may not have any damage, we may not have any awareness of the gunshot whatsoever. The other thing is, I'm not worried about pulling the trigger it's not the same as this person pulling the trigger over here. And I go, whoa, what was that? That was really disorienting, right? As opposed to, I know what's about to happen. There's about to be a loud noise, right? So there's that. The other thing is, I've been doing a lot more with suppressors and the idea of suppressed guns for home defense. So if you can legally own a suppressor, maybe that's something you want to look into too. If you are worried about hearing protection and distraction from the muzzle blast or the concussion, damaging your family members. You know you're about to pull the trigger. You may be going through auditory exclusion. They may not know that. They're in that enclosed space too. So the suppressor is a way, if you really want to go to all this trouble, don't damage your own hearing. Get yourself a suppressor on your home defense gun. That's a much smarter, easier, efficient way to do it where it's legal. But absolutely, under no circumstances do I recommend shooting without hearing protection to try to acclimate to gunfire. It's not a thing.
That makes sense. Isaac has asked what you think the best scope for an AK-47 would be. He said not 47 and 4.58 SOCOM. I'm sorry, does that make sense? I'm not quite the expert you are.
No,
okay.
I don't know. I guess I don't necessarily know. Hey, Chris Collins. Chris Collins is on the line over here. Appreciate him tuning in. If you guys are in the greater Oklahoma region, anywhere in that area over by Tulsa, he's a good guy to look for. Another one of our PDN contributors. Back to that, what's the best scope for an AR? I don't know what the application is. If you're asking me if you have and the 458 SOCOM, I think was one of the other ones mentioned. Now I really don't know what we're talking about, because I wouldn't have a 458 SOCOM as, was that the designation, the caliber?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so 458 SOCOM doesn't really have a place in the conversation for home defense, certainly personal defense, any of that. If you are staging one of those, though, I wouldn't give you any different advice as far as the red dot sight. People may have seen in a lot of my social media this last 6 months, I've been testing out and evaluating the Hollow Sun red dots. I'm really impressed with them, especially for the price point. I bought one in March, right before the tour started, $200 off Amazon with the mounts and everything else. And it has performed really well. It held up to a lot of abuse and use by students and me over the course of the tour. So I've been really excited about those lately. I've used aim points forever. Aim points are great, reliable, well-established, a little bit more expensive, a little bit pricier. In the long run, is it still more durable than the Hollow Sun? Possibly. We'll find out. Ask me again in a couple of years. But right now, if someone comes to me and says, what should I get for my AR? I'll probably say, aim points, the tried, trusted, true. The Trijicon MRO is, again, good and a very well-respected name. Hollow Sun's the new kid on the block, but a lot of people have been impressed with them, and you can get 2 or 3 for the price of one of the others. So that's something to consider. So with the aim point micro or the MRO or the Hollow Sun equivalent of that micro, the small red dot would be the 3 I would tell people to go look at right now today for any home defense patrol rifle kind of application.
Okay, and Isaac, just so you know, these videos do get uploaded to YouTube if you didn't take notes while Rob was talking, so you will be able to reference it later. Okay, we've got a few more questions coming in. This one you've answered before, but I think it's a good one to ask anyways. Chuck asked, how often do you carry, and what is your preferred carry gun and holster package?
I carry, my everyday carry I'm carrying today is the XDS 9mm 4-inch with claw sights in a crossbreed appendix carry holster. It's everything you do when you carry is a compromise, right? You're compromising size, weight, capacity, power, capability of the gun, comfort when it comes to the holster, right? Security versus comfort, all these things, right? So for me, the crossbreed holster appendix carry is using it for years. It's incredibly comfortable. Is it the most, can I do, I'm an upside down sit-ups, with it and not have the gun fall out? I don't know. Depends on how tight my belt is, right? It's not, I get that it's not the world's most secure holster, right? But it's also not the world's least secure holster by any stretch. And a lot of people get confused about the crossbreed because without wearing it, without the pressure of the leather pushing the gun into the molded kydex, the gun's going to fall right out. You have to be wearing it to really understand how that works and to feel it. So I use that. I use it with the ulti clip so I can attach it to the belt or to the pants behind the belt. And I carry Winchester W Defend from the Train and Defend line, or Winchester Defender 9mm bonded hollow points inside of it. As far as how often I carry, pretty often. Like we were just talking about my travel schedule. I'm going to spend I'm going to spend like 3 or 4 weeks in Europe in October. I won't carry a gun at all during those 3 or 4 weeks. I'm going to California tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I'm not going to carry while I'm in California. I've been carrying, I'm in Colorado, I don't know, like 10 days in a row. I've carried every day. So when you look,
do you sleep?
Depending on my travel schedule, any given month, I might carry 1 day or I might carry 29 days, right? So I carry when I legally can. and I carry when and the asterisk on that is if I'm in a state where they say like you legally can carry while you're drinking. I don't carry when I'm drinking, so I'm going out at night. I don't carry when I'm drinking, so rule that out. And if I'm going to be in, like, so for example, I'm going to be in Massachusetts, Connecticut, California, and New Hampshire over the next 2.5 weeks on one trip. So I leave the house.
Wow.
I go to 3 states where I'm not going to carry in because I don't, unless I kind of extend my reserve deputy status and cross my fingers, I can't legally carry in California, can't legally carry in Massachusetts, can't legally carry in Connecticut. I can legally carry in New Hampshire. I'm going to be there for 2 days, but I'm not going to carry a gun around in a lockbox through multiple flights, rental cars, and hotels and all that disassembled. So it's kind of sort of legal in Massachusetts-ish, but it's really not if I spend the night. It's not worth the hassle. So the 2 days I'm in New Hampshire, the conditions under which I would carry would be if one of my other instructor buddies or somebody else I know up there, when I get there, I'll say, hey, extra Glock 19, extra XDS, extra M&P, whatever. And I'll probably get a gun and holster. And I do that a lot while I'm traveling. Get a loaner gun, so to speak, where it's private transfers are cool and it's all that. So most likely I will have a gun on me in New Hampshire some of that time, but that would be an example of why I wouldn't be carrying, even though technically I legally could. It's all compromises. And the idea that I'm going to carry a gun around through all those states and all those airports and all those flights and all those rental cars for 17 days to have the gun for 2 days while I'm in New Hampshire almost all the time with students or friends who will be armed ain't gonna happen.
Okay, so it is 8:30. You wanted to cut it off at half past the hour. Can I ask you 1 or 2 more questions? Short ones?
I've gotten some questions here on the Facebook. So let me do this. First,
okay.
Is it a good practice to keep your CCW gun as your home defense gun / nightstand gun? It's not a good practice to simply leave your gun on the nightstand and consider it staged. Usually, if you live alone or if everybody in the house is authorized, that's cool. Some people are like, well, wait a minute. If all you have to do is roll over in your sleep and grab the gun and your eyes aren't acclimated or you aren't really fully awake, is that really all that good an idea? Maybe put it in the drawer. You don't need the gun in your hand while you're sleeping and get startled and make a mistake, right? So on the nightstand may not be the best idea. But as far as, using your CCW gun as your staged home defense gun, lots of people do that, right? I get it that most of the people watching this and most people I interact with and all that, they have more than one appropriate defensive gun, but lots and lots and lots of people only have one. So concealed carry gun gets put in a quick access safe when they get home or staged in some other appropriate way. So that's certainly fine. I'm
going to ask you one, because I have a concealed carry question that came in here. CCW insurance, Clark wants to know what are your thoughts and what you think the best one out there is currently available.
One of the things I said, I guess I actually got it. That's funny. I got one of those questions here too.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think the reality is that now, today, and I've said this a lot, in 2017, you don't have a situation anymore where the question is, to me, as the personal defense advice guy, it's not should I have it. More and more often, I'm getting which one should I have, right? It's like a red dot sight on an AR, right? In 97, 2003, should I have one of these things? As opposed to like the question we got tonight, which one should I put on this gun? We've evolved as a community to the point where the red dot sight is an accepted, not necessity, but an accepted first good choice for defensive rifles and patrol rifles, and even in our military now. So that makes sense to me that question evolved, and as a responsible educator in this realm, I have to have a better answer than if you want it, right? And I'm certainly not going to pretend they aren't a better option than iron sights, and they aren't reliable, and they're worth it. So insurance, as it becomes more and more standardized and more readily available, and the prices get more reasonable, and it becomes more of an expected part of responsible firearms ownership, certainly in the defensive realm, responsible firearms carry and all that, more and more people are going to do it. The programs will get better and better. USCCA is a perfect example. CCW Safe is a really good example. The advice and the program, which isn't really insurance, but the program from Armed Citizen Legal Defense Network is a great example. And those are the 3 I would suggest everybody, kind of checks out. Some of the other ones are not so great. One of the nice things, the reason that I'm aligned with USCCA is really it's a training project, but I totally believe in the legitimacy and the integrity of not only what their program is, but the way they sell it, the way they represent it, and especially the way their customer service supports it and the educational component. CCW Safe, they just recently had someone they successfully defended, and they've done a great job. Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network obviously also emphasizes training. We've had Marty Hayes as a contributor who runs that. Masad Ayoub's involved in that, another great educator. So there's a lot of good options out there. You're going to have to figure out which one you like the most. But I will tell you, obviously, that aligning myself with USCCA is a big thumbs up. I'm also a member of the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, or customer, client, whatever, associate, affiliate. And I'm also a life member of CCW Safe. So.
Cool. Yeah. Are there any other questions you have on your end that you'd like to bring up before we?
Students has apparently done his test because he's saying, hey, get back in here. We need to finish class.
All right. Well, do you want to, before we say goodbye, do you want to let people know what you're, I know you kind of already said that you're traveling everywhere all the time, but do you want to give any more?
They're full. Connecticut, the class has been full for like 8 months. I think I have 2 slots open in an advanced pistol handling class in Massachusetts coming up in a couple of weeks for goal. We have a CFS.
Ooh, maybe there's time for me to sign up.
Sign up now, but you can't use the gun in Massachusetts. It's weird. You got to be. So if there's a Massachusetts resident who's a CFS graduate from any of our instructors out there, you want to come in and take that class. Other than that, it's really, there's not a lot of open opportunities to train anymore in the fall. I'm going over to Europe and doing a few classes, and then I'll have some stuff down in Florida in December. Super busy. Just finished another book. I've got 2 books that have been turned into manuscripts or into the layout design people. So 2 new books coming out. Like I said, we just did a bunch of video. We're going to be doing some more Worlds Collide stuff. Rob Latham and I will do that. He's over in France land right now, representing the U.S. on a world shoot. And mods to the carry gun. Last question. Sights, maybe an extended magazine release. Don't mess with the trigger. You mess with the trigger, you probably picked the wrong gun in the first place if you really couldn't use the stock trigger, or you're probably a hobbyist chasing things outside the realm of the most likely defensive shooting. So don't mess with your aftermarket, or don't throw those aftermarket trigger thingy things in there as far as mods. All right.
Trigger thingy things, right. And everybody, we will be coming back on September 20th. We don't have an official topic for the next PDN Live chosen yet, but we do have a date, so mark it on your calendars. Well, I guess Rob's got to go talk to some students.
We're going to go do a debrief, and I'll grade those tests maybe while I'm out in California this weekend. So appreciate everybody tuning in. And Sam, thanks for jumping back in. It's been a while since you moderated. It seems like—
Yeah, my hair's green now. My hair was long last time.
It was. We made it, Shannon. I don't know what Shannon's doing, but if she's busy next month, you're more than welcome.
Shannon's doing horse stuff. So
wait, let's clarify. Horse stuff.
Horse. Oh my God. Yes, horse.
Shannon,
she's a horse.
Horse stuff. Denali. Her horse. Denali is a great horse. I've ridden it.
Yes, it's a great. Right. Okay, we're gonna go now, everybody.
I want to race.
Have a nice night. Yeah. Are we good? We're good now. Bye.